There is a person who always smiles, who always agrees, who says yes, even when every part of them is silently screaming no. You've met them. Maybe you are them. They're the one who gives more than they have, apologizes, even when they've done nothing wrong, and disappears, just to make sure someone else feels seen. But beneath that gentle surface lies a quiet tragedy, a deep, old wound disguised as kindness, a child who never got permission to be real. This is the psychology of a people-pleaser, and to understand it, we begin not with a definition, but with a moment. Imagine a little boy who grows up in a home where love is conditional, where approval is offered like candy but snatched away the minute he cries too loudly, acts too boldly, or questions too much. He learns early that authenticity leads to rejection while compliance brings peace. So he adapts. He contorts. He smiles when he's hurt, helps when he's exhausted, laughs when he wants to scream. And somewhere along the way, he stops asking, "What do I want?" and starts asking, "What do they need from me?" Because that was the question that kept him safe. Fast forward 20 years, that little boy is now an adult, responsible, dependable, always available. Their life is full of yes but painfully empty of fulfillment. They are tired, unseen, and invisible, even to themselves. And here is what most people never understand. A people-pleaser isn't manipulating the world. They're trying to survive it. They're really trying to navigate a world that once taught them that being themselves was dangerous, and approval was safety. People talk about fight, flight, and freeze. But fewer know about the trauma response that defines the people-pleaser. The fawn response. Fawning is the nervous system's desperate attempt to secure safety by becoming useful, agreeable, and essentially invisible. It is a survival strategy born in homes where confrontation meant chaos and love was something you had to earn. So they become mirrors, emotional chameleons, adapting and adjusting until they disappear inside the expectations placed upon them. Yet the world praises this behavior. We call them kind, patient, empathetic, incredibly easy to be around. But what we don't see is the panic behind every text message. The exhaustion from constantly monitoring the emotional weather of everyone around them. The guilt that crushes them every time they say no, and the quiet resentment building in the shadows of their endless selves. Because here is the truth. People pleasers don't want to please. They want to be loved. They want to feel safe. But love built on self-erasure is not love at all. It's a performance, a polite prison. And in almost every case, the pattern begins in childhood, sometimes through obvious pain, but often through subtle emotional neglect. Homes where emotions were inconvenient, where boundaries were ignored, where the child became the emotional caretaker of the parent, a mother who only smiled when the child behaved just right, a father who praised obedience but punished honesty. And in those quiet, formative moments, the child learns, my needs are a problem, my sadness is a burden, my anger is dangerous. So they bury those parts of themselves and become what the world prefers. Helpful, pleasant, easy. Loved, not for who they are, but for the mask. As adults, they enter relationships that mirror their childhood. They attract takers, people who love the convenience of their compliance. You're such a good listener, these people say, but never ask how they're doing. You're so easy to be around, they say, while never noticing the quiet sadness behind the smile. And so the cycle continues. Until one day they wake up feeling like a stranger in their own life. No identity, no boundaries, no voice, just a long list of things done for others. And here is the deepest wound. People pleasers feel shame simply for having needs. Asking for help feels like a crime. Saying no feels like betrayal. Having preferences feels selfish. They were trained to believe love is transactional, that their worth comes from what they provide, not who they are. So even when they're exhausted they say yes. Even when they re-overwhelmed, they agree. Even when they re-breaking inside, they pretend they're fine. Because for them, people-pleasing isn't just a behavior, it's an identity. But eventually, that identity cracks. The exhaustion grows heavy, the resentment grows louder, and a small, fragile voice inside them whispers, I want to be real. That whisper is the beginning of transformation. Healing doesn't begin with a scream. It begins with small, honest truths spoken quietly in the dark. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I feel unseen. These aren't selfish words. They are the first seeds of freedom. Because you cannot heal what you pretend doesn't hurt. Healing from people-pleasing isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming honest. It's about reclaiming your voice, your needs, your anger, your joy. It's about standing in the mirror and saying, I matter to you. People pleasers are not weak. They are some of the strongest people alive. It takes immense strength to silence your own truth, just to keep the peace. But that strength does not need to be used for survival anymore. It can be used for rebirth. And yes, guilt will come. It always does. But guilt is not proof you're doing something wrong. It's old programming, reacting to new behavior. It's the nervous system whispering, don't upset them. Don't speak up. Don't be selfish. The healing is in recognizing the guilt and doing it anyway. Because this time, safety comes from honoring yourself, not abandoning yourself. Real self-love, the kind that frees a people pleaser, isn't soft or aesthetic. It's gritty and revolutionary. It's saying no without explaining, resting without earning it, walking away from relationships that only value your silence, asking what do I want before what do they need, choosing temporary discomfort over lifelong resentment. And then comes the fear. What if I end up alone? It's a valid fear. But here's the truth. Yes, you may lose people, but those are the people who loved your compliance, not your soul. And you will find others, people who see you, not your service, who listen, who give as much as they take, who don't just need your light but protect it, because belonging begins where performance ends. To the people pleaser reading this, you were never weak. You were surviving. You became what the world demanded because you didn't know another way. But now you do. You are allowed to be kind and still have boundaries. You are allowed to be soft and still be strong. You are allowed to care for others without abandoning yourself. You are not responsible for anyone else's emotions, not their moods, not their insecurities, not their expectations. You can support others, but not at the cost of your own voice. The world does not need more agreeable people. It needs more authentic ones. You do not need to shrink to keep others comfortable. You do not need to be loved by everyone. You only need to be loved by yourself, and by a few real ones who love the unedited version of you. That is an Uget, has always been enough. So to the recovering people pleaser, take up space. Take back your voice. Take back your life. You don't owe anyone your silence. You never did.